Well, if you've been watching Rebel News for a while, you know about our friend Tommy Robinson. I think we've probably done more journalism about him than certainly anyone on this side of the Atlantic. Although someone pointed out to me that Tommy Robinson is the citizen's name that has been most mentioned in parliamentary debates in the UK, I think like on 46 occasions or something. So he certainly is grist for the mill over there. Of course, most of the newspapers in the UK despise him. I'm not sure why that is. He's such a colorful character. And even when he does things are naughty, well, surely a newspaper would sell copies or something. And of course, in the UK, they have a class system. They have highbrow and lowbrow and working class and tabloid. Tommy Robinson is the personification of working class Brits who love their football, as they call soccer. Why wouldn't papers catering to that demographic at least show them some respect? I found it very confusing over the years. As you know, Tommy worked for us for about a year or so. I don't know, I guess that would be 6 or 7 years ago. But I also attended the UK to cover some of his many trials once he no longer worked with us. Now, Tommy Robinson really had a lot of air let out of the balloon, so to speak, when he had his wings clipped by social media. And I remember when that happened to Alex Jones of InfoWars as well. I mean, these are powerful personalities with large followings, but the thing about followers is they have to be able to see you to follow. I remember in a 24-hour period, 14 different social media companies canceled Alex Jones on the same day. Don't tell me that was a coincidence. That was a cartel. That was censorship collusion. Well, the same sort of thing happened to Tommy Robinson. You can still see his face on YouTube, but not very well. They downrank those videos. And Twitter banned him completely. Facebook, the only way you're allowed to mention Tommy Robinson is to criticize him. I know that sounds like an astonishing thing to say, but it was revealed in a Scandinavian interview where a left-wing TV show wanted to talk about Tommy Robinson, and they got a strike on their account. They couldn't understand it. This was a hostile to Tommy network, and they interviewed the regional boss for Facebook who said, yeah, you can talk about Tommy only if you attack him. Remember this?
Here, the Danish journalist asked him some questions about these allegations.
Ifølge Guardian skyldes det blandt andet, at Tommy Robinson har opfordret på Facebook til at halshugge muslimer. Han siger selv, at han ikke har gjort noget. Hvor kan jeg som journalist tjekke, at I har dokumentation for jeres anklage mod Tommy Robinson?
Ja, altså der er ikke sådan et opslag, som...
There isn't one post, really. Let's have a little look at what they said in their press statement that went around the entire world. This went on the world's media, okay? A post urging people to terrorise and behead those who follow the Quran. Total lies. Now, this interview with the head of communications actually revealed a lot. It revealed that I'm a designated hate figure. And people can go on Facebook and they can write what they want about me. In fact, using their guidelines, they can encourage murder about me and it will not get deleted. But anyone says one positive word about me, they will be deleted. Now this would seem unbelievable. Only negative stuff can be said about me online. Let's see.
Det er en hård sanktion mod ham. Ham har I udelukket, men det der jo så sker nu, det er, at også folk, der omtaler Tommy Robinson, får fjernet deres opslag, bliver blokeret eller bliver truet med, og det er pillet helt af Facebook. Hvordan hænger det sammen?
Altså vores regler forbyder ikke, at man omtaler Tommy Robinson. Man må godt skrive på, at ham kan man ikke lide, eller at ham synes man er en idiot, som det.
So that seemed to be the end of Tommy Robinson until Elon Musk bought Twitter and revived from the dead so many accounts that had merely committed the sin of being politically incorrect, not actually breaking any law. And in the several months that Tommy has been reborn on Twitter, he's used that to magnify his message to millions of people, actually to hundreds of millions of people, or at least hundreds of millions of impressions, if you believe Twitter's statistics. Tommy had a rally in the UK on June 1st where our friend Alexa Lavoie attended, over 900,000 people watched that live stream concurrently. Tommy had another event this weekend, and over 500,000 watched that too. The reason I tell you these things is to emphasize how important Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter really is. Not only has it given the voice back to people like Tommy Robinson and Alex Jones, and you may not like their voices, but at least he is having a public square where freedom of speech reigns. Not only has he given their voices back, but he's allowed the rest of us to have our ears back. It's not just Tommy Robinson's right to say what he wants to say. It's our right to hear him. And what comes from saying things and hearing things? Well, doing things. And Tommy Robinson had a march in the UK. Part of that march was music. You'll recognize some Canadians from the stage. Take a look at Tamara Leach and our former Rebel reporter, Kelly Lamb. Take a look.
It's not okay that this is how they rule ya. How they rule ya. How they rule ya.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from...
There were some interesting speeches, and Tommy Robinson, of course, played one of his documentary films. Our own Alexa Lavoie was on the scene, and she joins us now to talk about it. Alexa, great to see you. Thanks very much for going over to the UK. What did you see when you went there?
Oh, a massive crowd, a lot of English flag, something that we don't see in some other demonstration as the anti-Israel one. We saw a lot of patriotism. There were a massive amount of people, and all of them were there for expressing frustration on the current governance. And also with the mass immigration they are seeing, they are really worried for not only their own culture, but their identity as well. There were a lot of different speakers. Tamara Leach, our freedom warrior, was there. She delivered a speech. She played guitar. I saw multicultural people, all from all backgrounds. There were people that was from immigrant background who had enough of the newcomer taking everything that he can, but not respecting the values and the culture of the country. I saw also people from all walks of life. It was really amazing to see. And it remembered me a little bit of what we saw during the Freedom Convoy.
Right. Well, how many people were there? I saw numbers ranging from 35,000 on the small side to a number that's a little bit hard to believe, but it was, I think, the Metro newspaper, which is a mainstream newspaper, that said there was up to 100,000. Frankly, I find that a little bit hard to believe, although when a anti-Tommy Robinson newspaper says it, perhaps we should credit it. It looked huge, and it was well behaved, wasn't it? I mean, there was no riots, there was no, attacks on police as you have seen in the past with some of these pro-Hamas rallies.
No, actually, the police were there. The sheikhs and I saw them like talking with the organizers. It seemed like there were no problem at all. I would kind of believe of the highest number or close by or nearby, because the Trafalgar Square were full, completely full, and people were on the streets. So we can see on the drone shot how crowded it is, but the number of people on the street is not seen on the drone shot. So I believe that is near by maybe 100,000 people.
Wow. And that drone shot you took on your drone camera was one of the best images I saw of the entire event. Thank you for that. Now, here's the thing. I've gone to some of those events. I'm really glad you went this time and you went last month as well. And you say that some of the emphasis was on patriotism, reducing mass immigration, and just clapping back because every week there's this pro-Hamas protest in the UK. It's a little tiresome. This, I think, showed the real side of the UK. And take a look at this. Here's a Muslim man on a mainstream radio station called LBC. And he was there. And I think to his own surprise, not only did he sort of like it, but it wasn't anything he had been expecting. Take a look at this mainstream media journalist saying, wasn't that bad at all. And these people are good citizens. Take a look.
The place was absolutely rammed. And I mean rammed. Place was packed. It was a very sunny day, as you know, yesterday. Atmosphere that I saw, I didn't see any bad behavior at all. What I saw was an almost family-like atmosphere. Very welcoming, very warm, flags everywhere. Not only flags of St. George and the Union Jack, but also Israeli flags, Ukrainian flags as well. And the thing that struck me about this was not a gathering, as far as I could see, of football hooligans. There were lots of women, there were lots of families, there were peoples of different colours there, and everyone was watching a video that apparently Tommy Robinson should have not been broadcasting, but there were various other bands playing and conversations going on and speeches being given. But the overall atmosphere was one of people feeling that they wanted to come together to actually try and, in their views, save their country. And to quote Tommy Robinson, he called on his supporters to come to London yesterday because, and I quote, "we want our country back." Now that sentiment that Tommy Robinson, or Stephen Yaxley Lennon, which is his real name, that sentiment which he promulgates and espouses is not one that he does so alone. We've had Lee Anderson, we've had many other people talking about and alluding to similar things. Now, I'm going to get condemned for this conversation, but frankly, it's too important not to have, because we need to have this conversation in a very measured, sensible, calm manner, in my view, to understand why there is a sentiment where people on a family almost day out will go to Trafalgar Square to go and feel that their country is being taken away from them and wanting to unite the kingdom. And to simply dismiss them all as far-right, lunatic, racist football hooligans is actually not helpful, and it's completely inaccurate. So I think Tommy Robinson is a symptom, not the cause, of something much, much deeper.
Again, that's the normalization that comes from Elon Musk platforming people again. I think the fact that Tommy was banned from social media was sort of like a social cue to the rest of society. He's a bad man. He deserves to be exiled and ignored. Don't talk to him. He's a bad dude. Now that Tommy's back on Twitter and is attracting followers, it's almost like higher echelons of society are saying, oh, well, I guess we can't ignore him anymore because he's got a platform. I don't know. I just think it very interesting how that is affecting his social status, the fact that he's back on Twitter. And obviously, it's an amazing political tool. I just can't overstate it enough. But let me tell you something that's very strange. And I know you were heading back. You stayed in the UK on Saturday, and then you headed back on Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, we learned that Tommy Robinson was arrested under the Terrorism Act of 2000, which is such an astonishing and bizarre thing. That would be like arresting him under the Patriot Act in Washington, D.C. I don't know if we have a standalone act in Canada that's the same thing. And here's what I know about the Terrorism Act. It allows police to arrest someone without a warrant, without laying charges against them, and they can ask questions of the person they've arrested, and the person must answer. There's not that traditional ancient right to be silent and to to not be compelled to speak. We've always heard you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you in a court of law. We've all heard that from watching police shows on TV. The Terrorism Act is the opposite. If you're arrested under the Terrorism Act, Schedule 7 of that law says police can ask you questions and you are compelled to answer. You are forced to answer. They can also force you to give any documents. For example, they demand that Tommy give his phone and his passcode. Now, I understand he refused to do that. You can have a lawyer there, although they can delay your lawyer from attending for 6 hours, which is weird also. And really, what's the point of your lawyer anyways if you have to answer the question? So here's a little bit of an excerpt from Tommy Robinson, who was still in custody. He called home to his ex-wife, Jenna, to tell her about what had happened. Listen to the crazy things that they asked Tommy Robinson when they had him under arrest under the Terrorism Act. Take a listen.
Yeah, what's going on?
So, I've been arrested under the Terrorism Act. This is so that an examining officer can exercise his or her powers under the schedule for the purpose either of determining whether you appear to be a person who is or who has been concerned in the commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism. So, that's what they nicked me under, so that they can nick me.
What are you meant to have done?
Nothing, Jenna. They don't. So after reading me out that, he said, "We know you haven't done any of that." So I said, "So why am I here?" They interviewed me for 6 fucking hours. 6 hours about yesterday, about the event, about whether I think I can stop the Great Replacement, about Israel. Well, what about a Palestinian state? It's fucking. And I said, like, because you don't have a right to remain silent, yeah? You do not have a right to remain silent. So,
have you had a solicitor?
What's that?
Have you got a solicitor there?
Yeah, it doesn't matter with the solicitor, because under this terrorism legislation, you don't have a right to remain silent. So if you don't answer their questions, you break the law, yeah? So it got to then the point of what this has been about. They said, you need to give us the PIN code to your phone now. So I obviously said, I read all their stuff when they grabbed me. They asked me so many questions about our event yesterday. What are we trying to achieve? When are you next doing it? What's your next plans? What do you think of the government? I was like, what is this? He said, what do you think of the United Kingdom, Great Britain? I said, a tyrannical fucking state, look at you. I've done nothing. Why am I nicked under the Terrorism Act? This is a total abuse of power. But they're charging me. They are charging me. I'm waiting to be charged now. So they transferred me from the port to, I'm in the police station.
What solicitor has represented you? Is it someone called Francis?
Yeah, what was his name? He's from Carson K. Yeah, did he ring you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said it's not him, because it's another solicitor now. But I'm away with the kids in 2 days.
So they were asking him about his hopes for his rallies. They were asking him about his views about Israel. None of those things are crimes. None of those things are terrorism. These are just bizarre questions that they were asking only because they had arrested him under the Terrorism Act. And by the way, Alexa, I can understand why you could have this law if there was like a ticking time bomb about to go off or a suicide bomber on his way to do something terrible, and you captured an arch terrorist to compel them to say, where is he going? What's happening? Where's the bomb going to go off? Sort of like waterboarding without the water. I can understand why you would use this law for the most extreme terrorists, but Tommy is not a terrorist. They didn't accuse him of that. They just wanted to ask him a bunch of questions about his politics. I think that's absolutely insane. They held him for hours. They held him for almost half a day.
But it's not the first time that either politician or people in the law enforcement try to paint him as a terrorist. It's easy afterwards if you paint someone as a terrorist that all the supporter will just maybe reflect on, do I still like following someone who have been labeled as a terrorist? I don't have to have that on my shoulder. Afterwards, it's easy also to remove his own rights to defend himself and to have the freedom of a speech and the freedom to have like a fair defense. I think they know that if they just invoke the regular law, it will not work. So I think they just use the Terrorism Act because it's a stronger law that will permit them to go a little bit further and try to find something when they know they will not find anything.